Communicators to another episode of Disputed, where two fictional characters go head to head, armed with only their advocates, and you will decide the outcome. Everything is disputed.
Oh, yeah. So good to be back, my friend. How are you?
I am well. So are a lot better. It's been quite the year so far. It's been quite the year so far. So,
Yeah, and we're
no,
just a
things are
little
good,
bit
though.
into it. Just a little bit into it. Oh, man.
Bruh.
Yeah. So what you been up to since we last saw each other last year and doing this?
Without had some personal challenges and around the home that we talked about off camera. Um, that's been the bulk of it. Podcast wise, things have slowed down because father two, husband one, that actually became the priority for the last like 2 months, 2.5 months.
Right. Yeah.
But podcast wise, let's see. I've had a couple of episodes of Demond Does, and I have some interviews lined up. My last interview with Elle Marie Wood was great. I know
Elle Woods from Legally Blonde.
No, I'm not sure how she would respond to that. That's interesting.
Okay.
She writes psychological horror, and
nice.
I am not a horror aficionado. So being educated on the different types of horror, like quiet horror, psychological, and then of course the hacker slashers, which most people are more familiar with. I thought that was cool. It was really fun to talk to her, and I've got some other things going down the pipe there.
Nice.
I was I guest hosted, or I guess will be guest host on Superhero Cinephiles. It's a podcast about superhero movies.
Oh, nice.
And we talked about Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, which was really cool. But it's such a good movie though that it was kind of short. So now next time I get a chance to go back on there, I'm going to find a really bad superhero movie so we can rag on it for like an hour and a half.
Well, what was that Avengers movie from back in the late 70s, early 80s, whatever that was?
I think the leader in the clubhouse right now is Spawn.
Spawn wasn't that bad. It was just they couldn't figure out how to properly do the prosthetics and stuff, especially for John Leguizamo. So
yeah,
I don't know. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it
wasn't still bad.
You got Ghost Rider.
Ooh.
So
I have to ask.
Yeah, there's one or two out there. So yeah, it's I agree. Yeah, it's been busy. It's been busy for me podcasting. So I finished podcasting engineering school. I have begun starting a new Jack Reacher podcast called The Wandering Type. Because if you haven't watched Jack Reacher on Prime, you should, because it's fucking amazing. The books are great, and the guy who plays Alan Ritchson, who's the guy that plays Jack Reacher now, is the proper size for a Jack Reacher character. He's not Tom Cruise size. Jack Reacher is supposed to be 6'5", 250 pounds, not 5'5", 150 pounds. So.
As a scrappy, smaller person, why was that such a hang up for people? I've read the books, but it didn't matter. Like his height didn't seem to matter.
Well, that was
a couple of the books. I take
it. The books. That was a big part of his thing. I mean, it's mentioned every time about how big he is. So I think that's kind of part of his part of how he grew up. He was bigger than the other kids. That's just kind of how it was. Even his brother was bigger than him. So because by 2 inches. So yeah, the books are great. So it's been a lot of fun. So.
Who's co-hosting with you, or is that just you by yourself?
It's me and Tiara. Me and Tiara.
You and T, right on.
I don't know if we're going to have guests or not. We may. I mean, I'd definitely love to interview like Lee Child or Alan Ritchson or anybody else, Malcolm Goodwin. Anybody else who's been involved in the show or the books. I would love it. So, Yeah, it's a really the books are really good. The TV show matches the first book, I would say 90%.
Wow.
Uh, and the reason it's the reason it's only it's the reason it's different is the book is written in the first person, is
Mhm.
written first person, Jack Reacher. So I mean, when you've got other characters, you kind of got to tell their part of the story too. So, you know, and you know, and if you've read the Jack Reacher books, one of the common phrases, and actually it's episode 8 or 9 of the series in this, is the common phrase that you'll hear is Reacher said nothing. Jack Reacher doesn't like to say a lot. He watches, listens, takes it all in, waits, and then acts. So that's so yeah, had it been just Jack Reacher, it would have been a very different series. So yeah, I'm really happy the way they did it on Amazon.
Cool. Heck yeah.
Yeah. So let's introduce ourselves for those who haven't been around for this. Maybe this be the first time. So go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Alrighty, what's up, nerds and blurs? I am Demond, father of two, husband of one, aka the Kevin Hart half of Disputed, and allow me to introduce my co-host, my ace, my homeboy. Tell him what your name is.
Thanks, Demond. Welcome, adjudicators. I'm Dean, father of the Podskier Podcast Network, which happens to be home of this, the Disputed Podcast. How are you now? The toughest podcast in Letterkenny, the Boondocks Podcast, Podskier Podcast, Armbar Audio, and like I just said, the Wandering Type, a Jack Reacher podcast. I may have a problem, just a little bit. So, man, and so we'll kind of and looking back, our last episode, which was our final one-off episode for now anyway, was Sarah Connor versus Ellen Ripley, which was an awesome battle. I mean,
so good.
It was
so
really
good.
And it came down to the wire by one vote.
Really?
Sarah Connor 51%, Ellen Ripley 49. I mean, they're both awesome characters. And you know, I mean, Michael from the No Fate Terminator podcast, he pulled out the win for Sarah Connor, but that could have gone either way. Ryan did a great job from Ryan from Don't Wreck Yourself podcast did a great job advocating for Ellen. But yeah, it was down to the wire. I mean, it was going back and forth. I was watching watching the polls come in, and yeah, it was a great episode. I was very happy with that.
I was too. That was one of the first. It was like we've had some really good back and forths. We've had a couple of them. The Axel Foley, Mike Lowry one was a strong back and forth one. This one was a strong back and forth one. What was the other one? Dexter Hannibal was another really strong back and forth one.
That was a good one.
This last one I thought was cool because this is the first time somebody had used a bit of strategy as far as manipulating the time, because I can't remember who it was. Somebody kind of cut their rebuttal short and ran right and used that banked that time and ran right into their intro. I was like, what? Like, you know, it was one of those little things that happened. Yeah. It's not against the rules, wasn't even against the spirit of anything. I thought it was great. Like, I'm looking forward to some more surprises like that just things I didn't think about or wouldn't have thought about that and just I don't know, man. I really enjoy what's been transpiring so far. I really like this.
Yeah, it's been really good. And I'm really looking forward to this season, which if you haven't been watching us on the stream, on the social medias, this is going to be a tournament. So we're going to do scrappers. So we're going to take your favorite scrappers from TV and film and bring them together to fight each other to the last. Do we want to get into this now? And I know we're going to go back and forth. I'm going to have you do the even one, so you'll do the first one here since there are 16. There are 60, so there are going to be our first round will be 8 battles. So And this is going to take us a little bit, so stick with us. We have some great advocates queued up for us. We don't know who's going to be doing what just yet, but they're all in, and we're looking forward to having them on. I mean, folks like Matt from the produce stand, Drake, who else? Tiara.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. So we got lots of people who are good for a scrap. So I'm looking forward to this. So let's see, let me see here. Give me just a moment while I get to our intro video so I can do this right. So bear with me just one moment as I get there. And yeah. All right. So if you are ready, why don't you introduce our first one, and I'll play the video along with it.
Seated number 16. Coming in at 6 feet, 170 pounds from Reseda, California, known for his karate skills. This former sensei of Cobra Kai and current sensei of Ingo Fang Karate is seeking to find himself. Give it up for Johnny Lawrence.
Oh yeah. A little Karate Kid action there, some Cobra Kai.
Live or die.
I mean, he's a good subject. I mean, yeah. I mean, beating up Kreese. I mean, what else would you have, right? I mean, come on, Johnny Law, right? Man, that's going to be a good one. I think these are all so far. I mean, I love all these. This is going to be so fun. So let me get the other one queued up here. And coming all the way from China, this master of the art of Kung Fu sailed all the way from his homeland to San Francisco just to rescue his sister. Little did he know that the strife that he would face along the way. Coming in at 5'11" and 165 pounds from the Warrior TV series, give it up for Awesome, man. I don't know if anybody's watching Warrior. It started off on Cinemax, but now it's on HBO. Great series.
I have not seen this yet, but I remember we had talked before and you had mentioned it. That might be the next one I dive into.
Oh man, I mean the show. I mean, it was created by Bruce Lee. So I mean, come on. When you got I mean, this is it's a great story. So
can't go wrong.
You ready? Oops, hang on a sec. I hit the wrong dang thing. All right, video file. All right, and if you are ready, let's get it on.
Seated at 14, this special ops police officer from Jakarta comes in at 5'6", 143 pounds. He's my kind of guy. His mastery of Pencak Silat has helped him take down criminal masterminds and drug kingpins from the Raid franchise. Give it up for Rama.
When I first heard of the Raid franchise, I got really excited. I'm like, man, this looks a lot like a lot of the stuff that they've been doing with John Wick and Atomic Blonde and all these. And come to find out, that's kind of what led into all of those. So, and I think I said to somebody today that Rama walked so that John Wick, Atomic Blonde, and nobody could run. So. Yeah. Those are nothing against any of those, but the Raid, if go see the Raid and Raid 2, both of them amazing movies.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So, now you introduced this one to me and I was unaware of it until I started watching the videos, but number 15 coming in. The scrap out of Thailand brings his amazing kickboxing skills to the pit, takes on all comers. At a height of 5'6", 130 pounds, he packs a big wallop into a small frame. Let's hear it for Ting from the Ong Bak series. Yeah, watching his moves, just, I mean, swift and brutal. I'm really looking forward to this battle. I mean, it should be a really good one. I mean, yeah.
Of the
that very first
younger
one.
guys, he's probably the strongest.
Yeah, you think so?
Of the newer characters, because some of these characters are pretty old, but of the newer characters, of the ones that I've seen personally, Ting is amazing. Some of the things that happen in those Ong Bak movies are just absolutely incredible, and I'm surprised we haven't seen him in more stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, well, same thing with the guy who plays Rama. I mean, he did finally get something with Wu Assassin on Netflix, which is a good show.
I thought I recognized that guy. Okay, that's where I knew him from. Okay,
Yep.
now I don't feel crazy.
But highly recommend. So, all right, you ready to go to outer space for a little bit?
Oh yeah, Daddy.
Here we go.
Seated in number 12, a space rebel, a pirate, and a vicious fighter could all be used to describe our next contestant. He's stout, coming in at 5'6", 130. That's not very stout, but we're just gonna zip on past that because I'm reading my notes. He takes care of business in a brutal fashion, so you don't want to get on his bad side. Give it up for Amos Burton.
Amos, since I don't know if you've watched The Expanse, is an amazing show.
Another one in the queue.
Oh man, it's probably the most. And I met some random stranger the other day at one of the food trucks out here, and we got to talking about The Expanse, and it, in my opinion, the best written sci-fi show that's probably been around in the last 20 years. It is amazing. And Amos is a Wes Chatham who plays Amos. Great character.
You're not the first person to say that exact same thing, to be honest. Matter of fact, a couple other people have told me, and they've used those exact words. Like, there's the best written sci-fi they've seen in ages.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know if you saw the last takedown that he did, the guy that he flipped over backwards.
Oh yeah, he Germaned him into the pit.
Yeah, did you see who that was? That was Boomer from Letterkenny. Boomtown. Boomer Phillips, yeah. So Canadian, it's filmed up in Canada. So yeah, the gal that played Marianne was also in the show. So yeah, lots of
I'm sorry, wait a minute. Marianne is in The Expanse. That is on top of the queue now.
Yeah.
That's my she's my favorite in Letterkenny. That's my girl.
Jess Salguero is awesome. All right. So let's see here. Who's up next?
Number 11.
Number 11. Oh boy. Going old school here. At number 11. No one ever said the spy game would be easy. It's even harder when you've forgotten who you were. The only thing this contestant didn't lose was his ability to fight. Coming in at 5'10", 185 pounds, you'll never forget who he is if he lets you live. Make some noise for Jason Bourne. I've been a fan of Jason Bourne since reading the book, The Robert Ludlum Bourne Ultimatum. I know they changed the movie quite a bit from the book, which is okay. But the movie is still great, and they've even added to stuff that wasn't even there in the original series of books. So definitely a good book. Definitely good books. Definitely a good series of movies. Highly recommend them. Even the one that's got Jeremy Renner in it. where they didn't have Jason Bourne. But yeah, they're all fun. If you like a good action romp, definitely recommend.
Yeah, I enjoyed these two. There was something I was going to mention or add, and yes, and he may lose points on being one of the originators of the shaky cam. So we'll see about that. We'll see if the shaky cam hurts Jason Bourne in the tournament.
Yeah, you never know. Those things can't. It's the details. So, are you ready for number 10?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Coming from a franchise that started in the 80s and has spanned all the way to today with 3 different actors helming the role. This contestant is here to help you if you need it. If you're in their way, you want to get out of it ASAP. Give it up for the equalizer, Robert or Roberta McCall.
Yeah, the Equalizer series, even back from when I was a kid in the 80s, watching it, it was a great show, which I think it's based off a series of books as well. Really great show. 80s, the movies with Denzel, of course. I mean, I can't recommend enough. It's really good. And Queen Latifah, come on, playing
Right?
Roberta oh, she is awesome. I love her. So yeah, go check it out. It's something you want to see. And I don't know if the old series is still somewhere, but all of them, watch them. So, all right. So let's see who's in at number 9 here, shall we? Number 9, portrayed by one of the most familiar names in all of martial arts. This character was seen as just a sidekick. However, he is far more than that. Master of the art of Kung Fu, he dispatches enemies with ease. Coming in at 5'6", 135 pounds, his fists of fury will blow you away. Let's hear it for Cheeto. We had to get some Bruce Lee in here. And not with just the Warrior. So it's I never got to watch the original series. I watched the movie, which was
yeah. The guy who played Kato was really good. He did the best he could with what he had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Green Hornet was more of the sidekick. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it was the 60s. What are you gonna do? I mean, yeah, Bruce Lee could have had a much longer career and probably would still be alive today had he been allowed to make Warrior or Kung Fu back then when he actually submitted it.
Well, we know how slow decision makers are, but we're not. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to drag them through the mud. We have plenty of other shows to do that.
Oh, certainly. All right, you ready for your? Actually, he battled this one. Actually had a spar with the guy who played the last one. If you're ready, let's go to number 8.
A well-known Texas Ranger, this karate master is known for dispensing justice with a spin kick. Coming in at 5'8" and 160 pounds, he may not be your average long, tall Texan, but does he need to be? You know it can only be Walker, Texas Ranger.
Oh yeah. I mean, we all grew up with Chuck Norris. I mean, a lot of us did. And he was, because unfortunately Bruce was gone by then. So that's what we had. We had Chuck and we had Jackie. That's what we had growing up, and that's all we had. You kids got your Jet Li today, and all your other guys must be fucking nice. So, as Squirrely Dan would say. So yeah. Gosh, it's funny. I watched more of Chuck's movies than I did, Walker, Texas Ranger. But it was a huge show. I mean, it's still huge in that Jared Padalecki is helming that show today as Walker. So,
right.
Yeah. I have not seen the new one. I have seen some of the old one. Not my favorite series, but I know a lot of people liked it.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my. I remember my mom watched that religiously.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to the first big man in our series here. Oh yeah. Whew. A mammoth of a man, this contestant known for his skills as a bounty hunter, where his skills as a brawler also quite often come into play. This beast comes in at 6'5", 260 pounds. From the Fast and Furious franchise, let's give it up for Luke Hobbs. You know, The Rock is always going to be The Rock, whatever show he's in.
Yep.
You know, whether, and, you know, he wasn't in a jungle this time, but as he so often is. But, you know, you got to love The Rock. He always seems like he's a decent guy. I mean, so they say don't meet your what is it? You shouldn't meet the guys you're a fan of, because it always breaks down. But I'd like to think that The Rock is probably like the Dave Grohl of wrestling.
I think the phrase is "never meet your heroes."
Never meet your heroes. Yes, thank you. The word hero was not coming into my head.
And I'm not sure who David Grohl is. So
Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters. Also, he could say the Keanu Reeves of wrestling. Really good guys.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe. Yeah, but he's always. You very rarely see him have a miss. You very rarely see Dwayne have a misstep. Dwayne, like I know him personally.
D John, as we like to call
as the Letterkenny faithful like to call him D Johns.
D Johns. He's a D John from Upcountry. So, oh man, yeah, but yeah, love The Rock. Is always a good guy. So you ready for number 6 now?
I am.
There we go.
He's not only a highly skilled driver, he's a former Special Forces operator who uses his brains and body to make sure his packages are delivered safely. He's compact at 5'9" and $185, but don't let that fool you. Give it up for Frank Martin.
The Transporter. Yeah, I mean, I like the Transporter series from the very beginning. Those first, especially the first couple of movies, they were really good. And now I know they've got somebody else in there doing the Transporter. I can't remember the kid's name. Another Brit, but yeah, he looks good for the role. So,
oh, right on.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh God, what's his name that plays him now? That plays Transporter. Who's Frank Martin? Oh geez. Yeah, I'll the Transporter. Yeah, Transporter was played by Jason Statham. Thank you. Why couldn't I remember his name? Jason Statham.
Oh, I thought you said somebody new was playing him. I'm like, Jason
somebody new is supposed to be playing him.
Okay.
I don't know if he's actually started yet, but yeah, I can't remember the guy's name though. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was confused. I'm like, I knew Jason Statham. I was like, boy, I'm really confused now.
No, he yeah. Gosh, I can't remember the other guy. I'll have to look it up and say it later. But yeah. Great series, lots of action, good punching, lots of hand-to-hand, a little bit of gunplay, but still lots of good hand-to-hand in that. I would say
one of those movies are very, I don't want to say chaotic. There's a lot going on in those movies. I remember one fight scene where he winds up fighting in a garage, I think. Oil gets spilled and he somehow rigs what are basically ice skates to beat up these guys. I was like,
right.
I'm in. All right. Okay. I have no idea what's happening, but I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Get Statham all oiled up. So
you just had to run it, didn't you?
Oh yeah, of course. So let's take a little trip back to the Cold War, shall we? Coming in at number 5. She may appear to be a runway model, but this highly trained spy knows all the moves to take down her enemies. When you see this 5'10", 130-pound blonde coming at you, you realize she's more than just one meaning to the word bombshell. Let's make some noise for the Atomic Blonde, Lorraine Broughton. Oh man, such a great movie, and I know they're supposed to be making more. This came out of a comic book series, which I can't remember the name of. It's something to do with In From the Cold or something like that. But yeah, I am definitely looking forward to more Charlize Theron kicking ass because she does that really well.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this was directed or helmed as far as stunts were concerned by the same guys who did John Wick.
Ah.
So, if you look, and Nobody. So if you look at, I don't know if you've seen Nobody, but there's you'll see the one guy that she fights for the longest time at the end. He was like, I think he's like the main stunt guy for this guy's team. So because you will have seen him in you will see him in Nobody, you'll see him in John Wick, and you've seen him in this. So this guy is I think he's like the main stunt guy for the guy who has created this whole series.
Right on.
Movies. So
it work if you can get it. That's awesome.
Yeah, damn right. All right, let's see who is up next for number 4.
Left for dead at the altar, this former assassin battled back to take out those who did her wrong. She's a master at kung fu as well as fighting with edged weapons. This Viper comes in at 5'11" and 125 pounds of revenge. Give it up for the Black Mamba. I think that's actually Kobe Bryant. Beatrix Kiddo.
The Bride. Yeah. The Kill Bill series. I got to give props to Quentin for that series. That was a really good series. I mean, 2 movies, but yeah, really good series. I mean, plus you got some David Carradine in there. But yeah, Uma Thurman as Beatrix Kiddo. Amazing.
That was the Kill Bill movies. That was a absolute awesome, fantastic, and just warm, loving love letter to 70s kung fu movies, which we were talking about earlier.
Big time.
And it was I bugged. Especially the action in the first one. Not that the action in the second wasn't great, but the action in the first one, man, so good. Really enjoyed it.
So great. Yeah. I think we watch those probably once a year. So really good. Oh man. So let's get to number 3, who is my kind of I think he's my dark horse here, but that's just me. I may be a little biased. He doesn't say much, but when you're an embodiment of frontier justice, this contestant doesn't need to. He fights dirty and with skill. Trained by the Army to keep Special Forces soldiers in line, this 6'5", 250-pound animal makes his presence known. Give it up for Jack Reacher. I mean, as soon as I heard Jack Reacher was going to be made into a series, and I saw the preview for it, I was in. I'm like, finally. I mean, nothing against Tom Cruise, but and even Lee Child, the guy who wrote the books, is also 6'5". Not 250, but he's a taller dude. So I think he kind of matched it to himself height wise anyway. But it's, this guy is the embodiment of Jack Reacher. When you hear about Jack Reacher, when they talked about Jack Reacher and his size, and he just kind of inhabits a room just when he steps into it, it's, he is brutal. And I don't know if you've seen the series yet, Damon, but just the first scene when he's walking, he doesn't even have to throw a punch. He's walking up to this diner. This guy is dragging his girlfriend out, berating her, and because she gave too much of a tip, and he kind of throws her up against his van and tells her to get in. And Reacher's he's standing there watching, and the guy turns around and goes, "What do you want?" And the Reacher says nothing. and he just kind of stands there and stares at him. And the guy's, I'm just having a bad day. And then finally the guy's like, it won't happen again. He had to say nothing. He had to throw no punches. He just looked at the dude and the guy knew. So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to brutality and brilliance, the guy is really fucking smart. This is he's a hard guy to beat. I mean, I don't know what to say about that, but like I said, I am a bit biased. So, but I love the character. Great character. You're thinking about something.
No, I was just I was like, well, all things being equal, because I'm looking at all the heights and weights of all the competitors, and all things being equal, there's a reason we have weight classes. So I'm curious to see how, because he's so recent, as far as like as far as being on the big screen. I mean, that's one of the ones I thought. Honestly, I thought he would be seated number one. This is one of the bigger surprises because of the size and the physicality. The show's super hot right now.
Oh yeah,
I thought he would be number one.
Well, I mean, and you also got to consider that I run I run a big Letterkenny podcast. So when I shared it over on the letter on How Are You Now, a lot of folks really love Wayne, and so. And
spoiler alert, but yeah, that's also why I thought that's also why it didn't surprise me that
and I've got a little thing here which I'm allowed to share over my podcasts. I can't share anything over social media necessarily, but I got to meet as last week went to see Letterkenny live. And I got to meet Jared Keeso.
Cool. Very cool.
He asked for us to come meet him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He had heard our show. He'd heard episodes that Trevor Risk had been on, but yeah. And I told him about this, and I said, it looks like Wayne's going to have to go up against Jack Reacher. He goes, oh man, that's going to be rough for Jack Reacher.
What'd he say?
He said, that's going to be tough for Jack Reacher. So yeah.
So yeah,
well,
I went Jack Reacher's ass the other day.
But yeah, that's I kind of hope it does come down to that. I don't know if it will, but I think it'll be a lot of fun regardless.
Yeah, this is that. Well, and the reason we did it, man, because I think this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good.
Yeah, totally. All right, you ready for your for number 2 here?
Yes.
All right.
Someone who has something to say about this possible dream match is a masterful assassin, highly trained in hand-to-hand combat, silent and efficient. In his world, he's known as Baba Yaga or the Boogeyman. This 6'1", 150-pound harbinger of death has thus far been without equal. You know who it is. It's John Wick.
I love it when he killed Ruby Rose. I'm not gonna lie. She's probably like my least favorite actor in Hollywood right now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, and I blame that on production people, casting people who are looking for a pretty face. And she is gorgeous. She is a beautiful person. I think they might actually be they, and I could be wrong. So I apologize for misgendering. In any case, yes, I was very happy to see John Wick take that character down. So was not disappointed at all. But yeah, and also looking very much forward to the next the 4th Jack Reacher film.
John Wick.
Yes, I'm John Wick, Jack Reacher. They're both Johns in essence, but yeah, John Wick, and the John Wick 4 should be. I'm really looking forward to it. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but John Wick and Nobody are in the same universe. They are part of according to the producer, the creator, they are part of the same universe. I don't know if you've seen Nobody with Bob Odenkirk.
I've heard about it. What is it on?
Currently it's on HBO. It's on HBO Max.
Write that one down.
But,
okay.
Yeah. Very, very good movie. So it's kind of, it follows, it's kind of in the same vein of John Wick, former assassin who has settled down. This one's actually become a family man. He's a little bit older than John Wick's character, and he's been retired for much longer. But and his dad is played by Christopher Lloyd. His I have to go look up who it was that played his brother. Give me 2 seconds and I'll tell you. It was RZA. RZA plays his adopted brother.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So his dad is Christopher Lloyd, has apparently adopted both of them. And so that, anyway, it's a good story. And they're working on another one. So, and
is it a movie or is it a series?
Movie.
Okay.
And they're talking about actually potentially doing a crossover with John Wick. So we'll see.
Interesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Ah, man. Yeah. Are we ready for number one?
You already know who it is, but fire away.
We do. Oh, man. Ooh. Our number one contestant for this season hails from a little town of 5,000 in Ontario, Canada. If you're his friend, he'll always have your back. If you're a D-Gen, you're in for the scrap of your life. At 5'10", 150 pounds, he's the toughest guy in Letterkenny. You know you'd better give it up for Wayne. Wayne. Gotta love some Wayne and them scraps. Fighting joint boy. Wayne never backs down from a fight. Toughest guy in Letterkenny, but sometimes you're not in Letterkenny, so
he's got a much bigger world to get into now. So
yeah, Wayne is going global. What do you think of that?
This will be, like I said, this will be interesting. I was not surprised he was seated number one. I honestly thought it would be Jack Reacher on the outside. However, your affiliations with Letterkenny did help tip those scales.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious to see how this all shakes out, because I mean, if everything goes by, what do they call it? Chalk. If everything goes chalk, it'll be John Wick versus Wayne. So there's going to have to be some upsets down the line. Of course, that's why we play the games.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think John Wick, and if you look at his fictional background, he's got a lot of training. But so does Jack Reacher. But John Wick relies heavily on weapons. So, I mean, this is all going to be hand to hand. So there's no guns, no knives, no swords,
no books.
Well, I mean, if there was one laying around, maybe, but, but yeah, I mean, these are your weapons. I mean, as you saw Jack in that clip there, he's going with a thumb in the eye. So.
Oh my gosh. The first time because I haven't seen the show. When I watched the video, when you sent it to me the other day, I was like, oh my God. Like I forgot where I was at. And I just screamed all loud. I'm looking around like he stuck his finger in his eye. Oh my God. It's horrible.
That scene is basically, it is taken right out of the book. Not punch for punch, but the details of it. Because it talks about how he took somebody's eye out, and he finds out later that there's one of the guys that he kicked in the throat and he suffocated because he couldn't breathe. So,
jeez, man.
So yeah, he sent one to the hospital. He sent multiple to the hospital and one to the morgue. So, if he's out to get you, you're gonna have a bad time. and that's no different from John Wick in that instance. I think Wayne, on the other hand, now personality wise, I think Wayne and Jack Reacher are very compatible. I think that they would be quick friends if they met each other. and never say a word. They would just have a beer and never say a word to one another, and they would be best friends because they're both the strong silent type. If they don't have anything to say, just shut your fucking mouth. That's their motto essentially when it
You
comes
won't
to
have to write much dialogue for a conversation
exactly
between those two.
exactly. Want a beer? Sure. That's it. Have a puppers. But yeah, I'm man. Whew, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. And so yeah, if we're looking at the seating as it is now, um now should I bring up the bracket that I showed you before? And kind of, or
Yeah, sure.
do we want to save that?
Um. Well, no, don't worry about it because I don't think we don't have any. Nah, don't worry about it. Well, why don't we just put it up on the
All right. Yeah,
website and fill it
let
in as we
me
go.
let's see. Let me bring it up here real quick. So, allow. All right. So, you're probably gonna have to embiggen this a little bit so that you can see it. But our first battle, which I mean will take place on the 4th, is between numbers 8 and 9, which are Kato versus Walker Texas Rangers. So, which I love because if you think about it, um, Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris had a fight, and what was it? Which was it? Chinese Connection? Which one was? I think that was Chinese Connection.
No, it was Game of Death, I
Game of Death.
think.
Game of Death. I think you're right. Yeah.
No, Chinese Connection is where Bruce Lee walks into a dojo, talks shit to the whole dojo. It's like, I'm about to fuck every man and I'm paraphrasing here. He was like, excuse me, y'all keep playing around. I'm about to fuck up everybody up in here. Are you sure you want this smoke? And then proceeded to whip all the ass. I love that scene in that movie.
Yeah, and that's kind of and that's I love it when that if you look at Jack Reacher does that as well. The Tom Cruise one, the second movie, or no, I take that back. The first movie, the guys in the bar who there's 5 of them who make him come outside, and the first thing he says, he goes, "Remember, you wanted this." So
If somebody told me if it was me and 4 of my buddies, and he said before we got into it, you wanted this, it would be 4 of my buddies versus that. I was like, no. If he's that confident, I don't care if he's crazy or not. It is not going to be a good time. No. I will abstain.
So yeah, what it looks like we're looking at here. So our first one will be on the April 14th. We don't have advocates yet. We will get them, but will be Walker Texas Ranger versus Kato. Then we're coming over to 7 versus 10, which will be Luke Hobbs versus Roberta McCall from The Equalizer. Then we're coming up to Jason Bourne versus Frank Martin from The Transporter. Then Lorraine Broughton from Atomic Blonde versus Amos Burton from The Expanse. So that's 5 versus 12, and let's see. Then where are we at next? Oh yeah, King versus Beatrix Kiddo. Then we got Reacher versus Rama. That should be a very interesting one. I mean, just because the size difference between the two of them is really drastic.
It's kind of absurd.
John Wick versus Assam. That is going to be wow.
That could be a sleeper first rounder for sure. Yeah. That could be one of those really good ones.
Yeah. And then finally, Wayne versus Johnny Lawrence from Karate Kid / Cobra Kai.
Frankly, I could actually see them scrapping it out for real on the screen. For real. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just similar. Sure. Even the way the movies are kind of similar, the way the pacing of their fights and stuff. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Wayne takes a trip down to Reseda.
On his way to LA.
LA. You're going to have a taco in LA.
LA.
Oh, man. So, yeah. Wow. What do you think, man? This is,
there are so many good characters in this. I'm curious to see how all this shakes out. This is going to be fun to watch because I've tried, some of the the one-offs have been a little more have been a little bit easier to predict. This one, no idea.
Yeah.
Honestly, no idea. Because, we're, with voting and everything else. I mean, you Jennifer Hudson didn't win American Idol. I mean, you know what I mean? So strange things. So
Yeah.
there's no telling what could happen here.
Yeah. It's I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. And I've been looking for because we've been talking about this for 6 months now.
Yeah. I think this was one of the first things we thought about. It's like, oh, we could have a bunch of fighters. And I'm like, that was the very first thing we talked about. It's like, we probably shouldn't jump into this real quick at this soon, but
Yeah.
but yeah, now's the right time, and I'm looking forward to this. This is something, every person I've talked to in my real life, they're like, oh, that's a great idea. That's gonna be so much fun. And they're like, yeah, it's gonna be dope.
Yeah. Yeah. I am I'm really looking forward. Oh, TR is asking if we can put up the bracket. I just had it up. So let me try this again. Can I let's share screen. So here we go. Yeah. Disputed scrappers allow. All right. So now if you may have to get your screen really big, down at the bottom right, there should be a zoom thing so you can see the whole thing. So one more time, we got Walker versus Cato will be round 1. Round 2 will be Luke Hobbs versus Roberta McCall. Then we're going up to Jason Bourne versus Frank Martin, and then Lorraine Broughton, Amos Burton. Then Ting versus Beatrix Kiddo. Then we're going to Reacher versus Rama, Assam versus John Wick, and finally Wayne versus Johnny Lawrence.
Do you have any early predictions, or do you have any early predictions, or I don't want to say who do you want to win or anything. I don't know if we can affect it like that or not. But
Yeah. Well,
what are your early predictions?
Personally, I think that for first round, I honestly think Cato would take it. I think, now granted, there is a little bit of a size difference between the two of them, but I think Cato, Bruce Lee, I mean, basically the same fighting style. He was a master at his craft. And I think that transfers into Cato as well. So you can't really say, that he's going to be outmatched by Walker in any stretch of the imagination. You got karate, which, I don't want to belittle karate at all, but that's kind of the generic martial art, right? that we've all seen since the 80s. So that's always been his style. And not that he's always been good at it. Nothing against his fighting. But I just personally think Cato's better.
I am inclined to agree, but I also think Cato mollywops everybody in this tournament. So I am a hair biased because I did grow up with Bruce Lee movies.
Oh yeah.
I like that. Like let me see the most fascinating probably first round matchup for me of all these early round fights is Ting versus Ting? Wait a minute.
Ting versus Beatrix Kiddo?
Yeah. I think that's gonna be a really fun one to
it should be interesting. Yeah, I really, I mean, they're both very fleet of foot. Beatrix has she's tall, got some reach. So I don't know. That might help her. I don't know.
Streak a mile long. Anybody who'll snatch somebody's eye out has got a mean streak. So it'll be that's gonna be one of those I'm really curious to see how. I'm really honestly I'm really curious to see how the women do overall anyway, because there's not a because the well, we could talk about this another time, but the criteria we use to do this, it didn't it wasn't in the favor of having a lot of women, but we did get 3 in there, so
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
we did. So, yeah, and I'm happy for all of them. I mean, I think that, honestly, out of all of them, my favorite would probably be, wow, it's a toss-up between Lorraine Broughton and Roberta McCall. But also we gotta, I mean, with The Equalizer, we have to also consider Denzel and the other, and I can't remember his name that played him, way back in the day.
Mhm.
So it's, they all have different skill sets. I mean, so, man, Lorraine Broughton though, um, she the thing that she's really good at, she doesn't need weapons, but she will make use of things as weapons very quickly.
Mhm.
So, so she's very crafty, very quick on her feet. And the thing, one of the things I loved about that movie is, and they don't often show this enough, and I think it kind of started with John Wick a little bit, was exhaustion from fighting.
Mhm.
'Cause
Yeah, John
you
Wick
you
did
s
that great.
Yeah, because you don't, often when you see a movie, they have some long fight scene, the guys are not exhausted. That is not how fights work. I mean,
No.
unless you're training a lot, even look at boxers. I mean, they go out there, how long's a round? 3 minutes?
3 minutes, and I think championship fights are 12 rounds,
Yeah.
so what, that's 36 minutes of
Yeah,
fighting?
36
With
minutes of fighting with a break of about it's a minute in between rounds or something like that,
Mhm, mhm.
So it's like they get but you can see how fucking exhausted they are even going halfway. So,
Right.
and even it's even worse for the big guys. So, I mean, when you're looking at your Jack Reachers, your Luke Hobbs, you gotta consider that. So, how long is this fight gonna go? So, because these guys, big guys like me, you know, after a while, we're carrying around all this frame. It's not so easy.
Oh, this is gonna be so good. I'm so excited. I'm excited.
It should be a lot of fun. Yeah,
And
I
it's,
am really,
and
really looking
so the date on the, burst on, Cato versus Walker is what, the 8th?
uh the 12th.
The
That would
12th.
be that's the Thursday, since we're doing these on Thursdays, right?
Yes.
Unless we're moving them. So the 14th, yeah, will be our first one.
Maybe the 14th, right on.
4/14/2022, 7 PM, right here.
Anything else, man?
Oh man, the only thing I can say right now is join us in 2 weeks from today as we on How Are You Now, along with the Produce Stand podcast and a couple of other friends, do a live table read of the pilot episode of Letterkenny.
I'm
One of the
so
things that I got from the live event was a signed copy of the pilot episode, and we're going to go through that.
that's gonna be so much fun.
I am really looking forward to that, and hanging out with people that you love and having fun. We need that right now. So,
Man.
so yeah, yeah. I think. I mean, then I don't yet have a date for Wandering Type, but where that's going to be starting pretty soon, and then I think on this coming Monday we're going to be recording How Are You Now's International Women's Day episode.
Cool.
So yeah, that was such a good episode too. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's on Hulu. But yeah, I think that's everything we have, right?
Yep. I think it's it.
All right. Well, so until next time,
I'm Damon.
I'm Dean. And remember,
Everything is disputed.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the episode and that you will go vote for your winner. We give a huge thanks to our guests and their advocacy for their characters. And finally, we'd like to thank the artists who created the music that helps make our show so great. We've got Hard Fight by Tajirigis, Fight Club by Evil Bear Boris, Fight Makes Right by Atake, and This Party Sucks by Done With Fish. You can find all of them on freemusicarchive.org. Thanks.